Disclaimer: this video is for information purposes only. The information heard in this video is not meant to treat or diagnose any health conditions. Consult with a physician for any health considerations or before starting any exercise program. On today's segment, we're featuring the story of Coco De La Luz, who has been suffering from anxiety and panic disorders for over 15 years. In this video, you will get an in-depth view of what it's like to live with anxiety and how it affects a person's life. Coco is 48 years of age, and he works for a composites manufacturer as a QA supervisor in the city of Irvine, and he's also a respected street dancer in the dance community. He also volunteers some of his time working with kids and teaching the art of street dance at the Homeland Community Center in the city of Long Beach. And Coco has been very generous to sit down with us and to share about his life story, his anecdotes, and just things that he went through when dealing with his conditions. So Coco, my first question to you is, why do a video like this?
Well, the main reason I wanted to do this video is because I wanted just to show that even though, I suffer with anxiety, and I know that there's other young people that may suffer from anxiety as well, that, that they can get help that they need. I did it and they can do it. I've been around young people for the last 20-something years, and a lot of them don't like to talk about the things that bother them, but if they see that I did it, then hopefully it'll motivate them to get the help that they need.
Thank you for sharing that, Coco. Can you take us back a bit and take us back in time and when you first realized you had anxiety? What was the first occurrence?
Well, I first realized that I was different when I was probably in grade school, like 3rd or 4th grade. I remember the first day of school, I just was very nervous for some reason. And it was the kind of nervousness where your palms are sweaty and your stomach hurts. And, I didn't realize why I was so nervous just going to school. And, the other kids I talked to, they weren't nervous at all. And so I think even being that young was like the first evidence that my nervousness was just a little bit different than most kids. So I think was the first time I realized that the anxiety was already there.
So Coco, with your own personal experience, was there a family history as well with anxiety?
I think so, because I have a younger sister who battled it for many years. She had it really bad and had to be hospitalized and went through a lot with it. And then my mother was a very nervous person. I had an aunt in Mexico also who was a very nervous person who never left the house. And so I think in our family there's a predisposition for anxiety.
As you got older, the condition worsened. Now, how did that affect your dancing and touring around the world as a performer, as an entertainer?
Well, that's interesting. It just seemed to kind of go away. I mean, I can't explain it, but maybe it's because I was doing something that I loved, and I was traveling and touring around the world, and I really didn't have time to think about the anxiety. It's kind of weird, but before that and after that is when the anxiety was really getting worse. So.
Right. So it sounded like almost the dancing helped you release some of that anxiety to calm down.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I just focused on dancing. I almost didn't have time to worry or think about being nervous. So it almost just kind of went away. So it's weird.
That's cool. As a next question, Coco, can you also tell us when you first experienced a panic attack?
Well, the first time it happened at work, and a week prior to that day, I was having trouble sleeping. And so I went to lunch, did my normal routine. And after I ate my lunch, I got really, really sleepy all of a sudden. So I said, okay, I'm gonna just put my head down and take a little nap. I had a few minutes left of my lunch. So next thing I remember is I woke up startled, and then I just kind of looked around, and I just got this sudden flush of heat just hit me. My hands started sweating, and my hands started trembling, and then I felt my heartbeat just kind of start beating faster, and then you know so I basically woke up in an anxiety attack, and then my coworker thought I was having a heart attack, so he calls 911, and here comes the paramedics, the fire truck, and there I go, free trip to the hospital.
It sounds pretty scary.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
So Coco, now that you had this first panic attack, you're at the hospital. What happened next?
Well, as I kind of sat there, the doctor came in and asked me to explain exactly what happened there at work, and after I explained it to him, he pretty much said it sounds like he probably had an anxiety attack or some kind of panic attack. And so when he said that, I just thought about my sister, because she went through it, and I thought, oh man, now maybe it's my turn to go through it. So he gave me some medication, made some recommendations for me, and said, and kind of sent me on my way home.
Well, now that you had this episode, at that time, how did it change things for you from that point forward?
Well, I had to change basically pretty much everything in terms of nutrition and the way I exercise. So I could no longer drink any caffeines. The doctor said caffeines are your enemy because they're stimulants, and it could actually trigger an anxiety attack. So couldn't drink any Pepsi, Cokes, Mountain Dew, Red Bulls, and zero energy drinks. So I've had to just change my whole nutrition program and supplementation and all that. So pretty much your whole life changes after that.
So Coco, my next question is, for your family, for your friends, how did they react to what you were going through?
Well, my family was very understanding. I mean, my sister went through it, so they knew exactly what was going on. My friends, I just kind of kept it to myself. I didn't really tell them too much. I just kind of stopped hanging out, and then after I kind of studied it and looked into it, then I understood more about it. Then I was able to open up to them and tell them what I was going through, and they're pretty supportive because some of them even knew people who had anxiety as well, so they were pretty understanding about it.
Were you concerned at all about like what people might say or think about you?
At first I was, but I just it is what it is. It was something that I had to deal with. I had to be honest about it with myself, my family, my friends, and at that point I really couldn't worry about what people might think. Yeah, you're a little afraid or afraid of what people might say or think, but after a while it's you got to deal with it up front. So
right.
That's how I dealt with it.
That makes sense. So what about doing this video right now? Are you concerned what other people might think?
Again, I was at first. When I first planned doing this video, I thought, what are people going to think about Coco? How could he have anxiety? He's this performer. How could he go through that? But once I realized that this video was not really about me anymore, it was about helping somebody else, because I know that there's somebody else just like me who's probably has anxiety and is not getting the help that they need. It was at that point that I just didn't really worry or care about what people might think, because now it's about helping somebody else get the help that they need.
Coco, what is your lifestyle like right now, and how do you deal with anxiety?
Well, right now my days are pretty good. My panic attacks are far and few between. With all the changes that I've made with nutrition and exercise and just living an active lifestyle and staying away from stressful situations, staying away from caffeines and all the stimulants, pretty much nobody would ever think that I have anxiety. So that's kind of how I manage it now.
What about your personal life, dating, social relationships? How was that affected?
Well, I have to be honest and say, it did affect my personal life. Dating was sporadic. I mean, can you imagine being on a date and having an anxiety attack? So that's fine, it is what it is. And I think that the most difficult thing about dealing and living with anxiety is the depression that follows. Usually, what happens is when you have an episode, you get bummed out and it's depressing. And then you kind of recover, and then you may have another episode, and then boom, you're down again. And so it's kind of this, you feel like you're caught in this vicious cycle and you think it's never going to go away. And then the worst thing is you'll have a few good days and then boom, you have an episode and then you're down again. So it's just kind of this vicious cycle that happens, and you feel like you're on this merry-go-round that just will never stop. So that's probably the most difficult thing about living with the anxiety.
Getting back to your life as a dancer, being involved with the dance community now and doing showcases at local jams, how does the anxiety affect you?
Well, sometimes it depends. Sometimes I'm very nervous before I go out. I mean, nobody will ever see it, but I'm very nervous. Sometimes you'll know because I'll stand up and pace around, so then you'll know that I'm nervous. But other times I just get up from my seat and do my showcase, no problem. So it just depends on how I'm feeling that day, or, at that moment in time, and it could be very nerve-wracking, or it could be a very calm event for me. So it's just how it is sometimes.
So Coco, now that you are managing your lifestyle, making changes in your diet and exercise and just health choices in general, what are maybe some pieces of advice that you would want to give someone facing a similar situation?
First thing is you got to get help. You got to go see a professional, get the diagnosis, and whatever they prescribe for you, you follow your doctor's orders, and then on top of that, live a healthy lifestyle. You've got one body, you got to take care of it, and stay away from drugs and alcohol and all the things that could harm your body, because it's the only one you got, and so we got to take care of it.
Got it. And kind of just building on what you're saying, it seems like, would you say this is true? Like when we are younger, we tend to go out and do whatever we want to do, and we think we're invincible, but when we get older, some of those things can come back and haunt us.
Of course. I mean, you look at anybody, if they start smoking at a young age or drinking alcohol at a young age or doing drugs at a young age, those things can and probably will affect you when you get older. So, I encourage kids to stay away from those things, because again, in the end, it's going to harm you. And I've been just fortunate where I just lived a pretty clean life, throughout my life, and now even more so because of the anxiety. So in some small way, I'm thankful for the anxiety, because it caused a change in my life that otherwise would have never happened. So, I just hope that young people just take care of themselves and live a good, clean life.
That's great, Coco. So I guess my last question for you is, what's next?
Well, I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing. Continue working with young people, continue in the dance community. Our young people need mentors. They need somebody to be there for them. They're under tremendous peer pressure these days to succeed, and a lot of times they don't talk about the things that they're going through. And so I just want to make sure that I'm there for them and let them know that they can come talk to me about anything, and I'll do my best to point them in the right direction.
Coco, thank you for sharing that, because I feel like now that kids will have someone they can talk to, and also they'll have this feeling that there are resources out there that they can have access to.
Yeah, that's, kids need somebody to be there for them. Our kids are under tremendous peer pressure, and, anybody that can be there for them and mentor them and point them in the right direction, that's what they need.
Are there any final thoughts that you'd like to share with us?
Well, just for me personally, I just want to say that, I understand that my calling in life is far greater than just being a dance instructor. I think, again, I'm focusing on the young people these days because I'm around them all the time, whether it's at church or being at Homeland. I just enjoy being around them, but I know that they go through things in life and they should not just suffer in silence. If they're going through anything, talk to somebody, because somebody is there to help them. So I hope that they you know through this video that they'll see that they can that they can talk about things and not be afraid of what people might think.
Coco, thank you for just sharing your life story. It's really humbling, I know, and it takes a lot of courage to do so. And I think just for our audience out there, we just want to let you know that there are actually resources that you can look up and have access to. We're going to share some of those links online and also contact information at the end of this video. But we also want to let you know that there are people out there that have done and definitely dealt with a similar situation and have gone through treatment and have definitely made it to the other side. So we want to just leave you with a sense of hope that there are solutions out there and that there are other options. And we just want to thank you for tuning in to our first segment on Up Close and Personal, and we look forward to talking with all of you more in the future.